The fact that they're able to cross over and be one of the most sampled groups in hip hop just shows how powerful, how quality, how strong their music is.
Hello, and welcome to the Jocelyn Moore Show. I'm your host, Jocelyn Moore, and as always, we're here to inform, inspire, and entertain with dynamic conversations that matter. Today, we go beyond entertainment to explore how Black R&B groups drove social change and shaped civil rights movements. Joining us now is Amani Roberts, renowned DJ, music historian, and author of The Quiet Storm. Amani, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yes, I'm excited to have you here today, too. Okay, to start us off, I'm going to ask you this question. If you could DJ one historical civil rights movement, what would be the very first song on your playlist?
Ooh, if I could DJ very song, maybe I'd take like the, Sly and the Family Stone, Everyday People. That would be one. That would probably be the first one, I would think.
May I pick one? I know I had asked you.
Yes,
What about
you can.
Respect? Respect?
Okay. Yeah.
People get ready? Okay, very
Okay.
good. Excellent. Okay, we both did good. Okay, let's say that.
Yeah, I agree.
How did you get started in music? Did you come from a musical family?
Well, my dad was always playing like records and music in the car and in the basement. So that's my first exposure. And then, growing up, you play instruments. I think I started with the recorder, then the flute. That ended quickly, and then went to the saxophone. And I played the saxophone all the way through high school. And that's kind of where I got my start in music.
Were you in the band in high school?
Yeah, I was in the jazz band in high school. Yeah, we were good too.
You had a jazz band.
Yeah, with Montgomery Blair High School, Silver Spring, Maryland.
Very good. Were you good? Were you really good, or were you just?
I was probably average player, but the band was very, very good. We recorded an album. We went on tour to New Orleans, won competitions. We were very good.
Excellent. All right. So for those who do not know, what does R&B stand for, and where did earlier groups find their musical roots?
Well, R&B stands for rhythm and blues. It's a big genre of music that pretty much comes from like the blues and gospel roots. And it's a form of like musical storytelling. That's kind of where it got its roots, where it's got its start. And it's been growing ever since. And we still see it continue to evolve today. And you'll notice that most any other genre kind of comes from the R&B tree. And that's kind of where it got its start and a little bit of the history of it.
Oh, all right. So I'll ask you a question about your book. What motivated you to write The Quiet Storm as a dedication to the historical impact of the R&B groups?
I was doing my thesis in grad school at Berklee College of Music. This was the topic that I chose to focus on. And when I went through the research process and wrote the thesis paper, I realized there was a lot of stories that needed to be told. There are not a lot of resources out there or books that talk about the history of R&B groups specifically, what happened to them, why they disappear. And so I saw there was an opportunity, and being that I love R&B music, particularly the slow jams, I said, well, let me go ahead and try to write a book. It took 4.5 years, but it turned out tremendous, and I'm so excited to see where it continues to take me and get people's feedback from within the industry.
I was going to ask you, my next question was how long did it take? You said it wasn't much out there anyway, right?
Well, there wasn't much out there that I had already written, so I had to do a lot of the
Right.
research on everything from scratch.
Oh, from scratch. You get a little bit frustrated, take a break, say, okay, this is really getting to me now. Take a break like 1 or 2 or 3 days and then come back again.
Yeah, so there was a time period where I had finished the thesis and I had graduated from grad school, but the writing process, it's really hard. You have to have the right people around you and you can't be distracted. And there was a time period where I probably had the wrong person around me that wasn't good for my creativity or my writing. So that kind of caused me to pause, or just, I couldn't get a lot done. So once, we kind of got them out of my life or whatever, then I was able to kind of focus, go on a writing retreat, get the writing done and finish. Because, the hardest part about writing a book is finishing it 3 times. So I was able to get through that, but it was not easy.
I know, as a writer myself, I understand that. You say you went to a retreat. I know for myself, I have to get away sometimes. away from everyone, the phone, everything, and just be quiet, just take it all in.
I went to Minnesota. I went to Grand Marais, Minnesota for 5 days, 4 nights, and was in an Airbnb and just wrote all day and all night. And that got me over 65% of the book done just from that. And then I had to keep going once I returned home.
Do you find yourself with writing, you have to sometimes, you write 2 or 3, 4, 5 pages, then the next day, you just throw all of it out and start over again because your mind is refreshed? That ever
No,
happened to
I
you?
I can't do that.
Okay.
I'm of the belief that you write everything out and you don't edit it while you're writing it. You get everything out so you can get this, just a first draft out there, and then after the first draft is done, then you can go and accomplish more and everything. But don't edit while you're writing. That's what I've learned, and that was very effective for me.
I know when I edit, I write, and then the next day or two, I end up changing it. It's a little frustrating in a way, but that's what I do sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
good. You know what's good for you. That's the important thing. So after everything was over, you were going like, after you finished your book, it was like,
Well,
you
yeah,
get,
it was like that a little bit, but then you had to market the book once it comes out.
well,
That's even, that's just as difficult.
that's true. That's true. In your book, The Quiet Storm, how did Black R&B groups drive social change through the civil rights movement?
Well, it was more notable in the 60s. Like, you had groups that would specifically have songs that talked about it. Like we mentioned, People Get Ready, The Impressions, Keep On Pushing, Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stone. You had, even early on, you had the Isley Brothers with Fight the Power. So there were songs that were written about what was going on and kind of, um, talking about the movement and things, and maybe, sharing some hope. But then once you got through like the 60s and the 70s, then the songs kind of the content, the topics started to kind of get more around dancing and love and things like that.
Right. I'll ask you this question. What do you think about the music today? What you hear today? Do you think back, like in the 60s we talked about, it was more meaningful than what you hear today on the radio? Is it more of a beat? They listen to the words, you know what I mean? Because people listen to the beat, oh, that sounds good, but not really taking it what the words really mean. What are your views about that?
So, I love the R&B music of today. They got some great artists that are out and singing, and there's some artists that really do well with like their lyrics and singing. I do think that nowadays there's less inhibitions, like people can sing about anything and everything on a track, whereas back in the day it was a little more restrictive. You couldn't be fully expressive. But there's some good music out today. A lot of it you just have to maybe search and dig for a little bit more. So I'm a fan. I'm biased to the 90s, R&B from the 90s and 80s, because that's kind of where I grew up. But I think today it just takes a little more work to find them because there's a lot of noise. Like there's over 170,000 new tracks uploaded to like Spotify on a daily basis. So that's a lot more released now than it was in the past. And that just causes us to have to research a little more, follow your artist, and just put a little more time in to find the good music. But the good music is out there. We just got to find it.
Okay. What do you think? Now I'll take you back to Temptations. I love the Temptations and the Four Tops, all of them. What do you think? Okay, think about the original Temptations and original Four Tops. What do you think their input would be about the music today? If that,
Well, if they were around, they probably would love the technology that allows them to record a lot of music very quickly. They don't have to be in a studio and record 300 takes of a certain song. They could get it done quicker, so they could probably get more songs out. Think that, they might be curious about the style of music that's out, but, they were early on in the collaborations. They had a hit song with many artists like the Supremes. They did a really big song with the Supremes
yes.
and everything. So that's more common now, but they were kind of the originators. So I think they would like that. And, I'm sure that they would appreciate the just kind of how the industry has evolved. It's still tough, but nowadays, artists might have a little bit more control over their image, over what they can sing. Back in the day, they were just given songs and told to sing. They might not get songwriting credits.
Right.
So nowadays, there's a little bit more knowledge that's out there for them to make even better decisions than they had to.
Mm. What do you think? I think, see if I have this information correct. I was reading about Temptations about Eddie Kendricks. At one point, maybe I'm wrong, you the music historian, so you could correct me. Back then, in those days, the 60s, I guess 70s, Eddie Kendricks didn't really like the way the music was changing within the group. Is that true? He wanted to go back to what the way they were singing, in the beginning.
Sure, because the Temptations, they were around for 4 or 5 decades. So as the music taste of the public evolved, their sound had to evolve. I don't know any specific examples of when he was unhappy, but generally speaking, there's some artists who can adjust to the changing in the times of the music industry, and then there's some other artists or groups who really like the sound from when they were beginning, when they were starting. So that wouldn't surprise me. I don't remember a specific story about his dislike of the evolution of music though, but I can research that. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Because, sometimes you hear about something, you read about it, doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
Right.
Right. So I have to take that into consideration. I was watching, go back to Temptations, if you don't mind. I was watching the movie, I think came out in the 90s by Temptations. And I don't know how much of it was true, but after watching it, I just thought about that movie for the longest time. I said, the temptations, the things that you go through, being Black and try to get a song out, period. It was so much back then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, back then, early on in the 50s and sometimes in the 60s, you'd have the black groups singing, but their pictures wouldn't be on the album, and so that was probably the first hurdle they had to get over, is actually getting their pictures on the album so that it would be their true band image. And then, they didn't really have a lot of rights to the intellectual property, publishing, songwriting, so it's been a long road for musicians.
I can't remember what group I was reading about. It was hard to get their their photo on the album. Do you think this go to Tina Turner? She felt she had to move from the States in order to be appreciated,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Some artists,
Hmm.
other artists went. It's sad though. You have to leave the States when you're trying to go someplace else
Yeah.
to be appreciated.
I mean, an example of that would be Frankie, Beverly, and Mays. Now, they were relatively popular here, especially in the 80s and 90s, but they broke a record that the Beatles have. I forget the name of the venue in London, but I want to say the Beatles had sold it out like 11 or 12 days in a row. And because the love for Frankie, Beverly, and Mays was so strong, they sold out this one venue 15 or 16 days in a row, which broke a Beatles record. That's Frankie, Beverly, and Mays. They've never won a Grammy. They've yet to have a platinum album, so they're moderately popular here, but they're very popular amongst African American community. But overseas, they are beloved. So that would also kind of tie into your Tina Turner example.
So why do you think does it go back to race? Why do you have to go someplace? I guess maybe you did answer the question. You have to go someplace else to be really appreciated. That's sort of it's still sad. Any way you look at it, it's still sad. So I know, like Tina Turner, I think when she passed a few years ago.
It's just I don't have a specific reason. It's surprising, but then again, it's not surprising because this is America and it's a big, big country and lots of
True.
different tastes.
Mhm.
So I would credit the R&B artists who actually recognize their audience so that they could go overseas and get better success and feel the love. So props to them for going overseas and seeing what's going on and tapping into that market.
And do you think, like going to church, a lot of Black people started in the church? Just like you was saying before starting this. I remember I was in the junior choir. I can't when you're young, it's cute. When you're in the choir, it's cute. But as you get older, if you can't sing, you just can't sing. But
Yes.
a lot of us, we had to be in the choir. We had to go to church.
Yes.
You better be dying If not go to church, you had to go to church. You had to sing in a choir, and that's a lot of our roots came from that, from singing. I think about those days, and I cherish those days. I
Yeah,
think back
yeah.
that.
I think nowadays there's less artists coming from the church. So that's one factor that leads to just, a shift in how R&B music is. Because, if you look at some of the best artists of all time, most of them started in the church. And so,
Right.
it's different now.
I think Whitney Houston, she started church. Whitney did
I
with
think so. Yes.
along from mother. Yeah.
The one that group that comes to mind, Jodeci, they started,
Okay, right.
most of them started in the church. I think Johnny Gill started singing in the church too from New Edition. There's lots of artists out there that started, that way.
That's true. That's true. That's true. What do you see as the most enduring legacy groups like, here I go again, the Temptations left for the R&B music and future groups?
In terms of legacy, the one group that I really like to highlight that people it's hidden in plain sight is the Isley Brothers. So Isley Brothers are the
Yes.
only group in history to have hits in 6 straight decades, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. I don't think that's talked about a lot. They have an amazing legacy. They're still performing to this day. And the fact that they're able to cross over and be one of the most sampled groups in hip hop just shows how powerful, how quality, how strong their music is. And so I think in terms of legacy, that's the first group that comes to mind because they're still doing it. They've broken records. They have an amazing discography and catalog. And I love to share and talk about them consistently because I don't think they get as much credit as they deserve.
I don't think so either. Now, how many Isley Brothers, how many were singers? I can't remember because I
Well,
know a
you had
few
the lead
bad.
singer Ronnie Isley, and you had a couple others in there that were singers. But they play music, they play their instruments and everything, which was common back then. So
Mm-hmm.
they can go on tour. And you even had Isley Jasper Isley, which was an offshoot of the group too. So yeah, they all could sing, play instruments, go on tour. So they were like a triple, quadruple threat.
So all look alike too. You could tell they were brothers just looking
Well, yeah, they
at
do,
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. As a music historian, what's one untold story about Black and R&B groups that people will be surprised to know?
One untold story. Let me think. There's some. So I like to share this story about Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Oh,
So
okay.
Gladys Knight and the Pips. You have a favorite song by Gladys Knight and the Pips that you love?
I can't think of it right now. I'm going to think of it after the show. Always happens that
Okay.
way, right? I
Okay.
can't think it. I
So
heard
their
through the
biggest
grapevine. I'm sorry. I heard through the
heard it through
grapevine
the
is one.
grapevine, yes, and then
Midnight
Midnight
Train to
Train to
Georgia.
Georgia. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So with that song, the songwriter Jim Weatherly played flag football with the $6 million man who was Lee Majors back in the
Right.
day.
I
They
remember him.
played, and then Lee Majors was engaged to, I think he would eventually get married to Farrah Fawcett.
Right.
And so Jim Weatherly calls up one day and Farrah Fawcett answers the phone because they were calling up to
Oh,
talk. So they're catching up. And then Jim's like, well, what are you up to, this weekend, Farrah? And she says, I'm getting ready to take a midnight plane to visit my family in Texas. So he took that phrase, midnight plane to Texas, and changed it to midnight train to Georgia. First gave the song as a country song to Cissy Houston, who's related to Whitney Houston.
right.
And then last night, the Pips made it into a classic song that's one of the top 100 songs in history. And that's one of my
Oh,
favorite stories.
that is good. With Farrah Fawcett in it? I
Yeah.
mean, you never would have thought that.
Yes, yes. And that just shows you how you have a songwriter where that was Jim Weatherly. They took the song, it went from a country song to an R&B song. And then that's one. And then I have another quick one where you have the Whispers. So
Mm-hmm.
Whispers, they released their first song in 1964. And their goal was to get a Billboard Top 20 song. took them 15 years to top 10 song was their goal. It took them 15 years to get into the top 20 because they had in 1979 they had the song "And the Beat Goes On."
I remember that.
You would think that pretty soon after they get to the top 10, but no, it took them 8 more years before they got their top 10 song, which was "Rock Steady." So it took them a total of 23 years from when they released their first song to get into the Billboard Hot 100 top 10. And I love to share that song when I talk about resilience because they are the epitome of resilience. So those are two of my favorite stories.
But that's a long time.
Yes.
It's a long time. Just think about there are some people who really, really can sing, but they just don't make it.
Well, they stop or they give. The most common reason why artists and musicians don't make it is because they quit or they stop.
That is it money too? I don't know. Or getting in touch with the wrong person who.
I mean, it all kind of leads to that, but whatever it is, it causes them to just stop and walk away. And that's the hardest thing is for people to stay with it because it could take you years or even a decade to, sort of metaphorically speak, pop off. But some people nowadays stick with it. Some people don't. Back in the day, groups would be around for decades before getting their big hit.
That's true. Then the Supremes, they had a lot of hits. A lot
So
of hits.
the Supremes had a lot of hits, but initially when they were first signed to Motown, all they were allowed to do was clap their hands on songs. So they were just allowed just to clap their hands on songs. Then eventually they were allowed to sing backup on some songs. So that was about 3 years after their sound. They were singing backup. Then they were allowed to release their music, and their first 8 songs didn't do well. And they were actually within Motown, they were called the No-Hit Supremes. That's the name they called them inside of Motown.
Really? Oh.
Then they released, the song is escaping now. They released one song, it hit number 24, and then 11 of their next 13 singles hit number 1 on the charts. This is the main Billboard charts. So then they made history because 11 of their next 13 songs went to number 1. And I think that has yet to be duplicated, even in today's era. Of course, they went on to be legendary groups, but first, for a while, they were only allowed to sing backup. They were only allowed to clap their hands on songs. And this is after they were already a group, but finally they got their opportunity. They struggled at first, but they stuck with it, and then they blew up and did extremely well.
Now, for the Supremes, Floyd Ballard, that's her name? Floyd? I mean,
Florence.
Florence. I meant Florence.
Florence.
Did she, what you call it? It's not the word that created the group, but did she start the group off? I mean, got Diana Ross and Mary Wilson together, say, okay, let's start a group. That's how I started with Florence.
I think I have to check my chapter here. Hold on, we'll go to the Supremes chapter and see. The chapter 19.
Chapter 19,
there.
Everyone. Okay.
Yeah. So at first, so they began in Detroit in 1959 as the Primettes, a sister group to the Primes. Florence Ballard was asked to put together the group, and she recommended her friend Mary Wilson. They then brought on Betty Travis. One of the members of the Primes, Paul Williams, later member of the Temptations, recommended a 15-year-old named Diane Ross.
Oh.
Yes, Diane. That was the name her mother chose for her. But her birth certificate mistakenly lists her name as Diana. So then Travis didn't last long in the group, and Barbara Martin joined for a time. The Primettes performed at talent shows and sock hops. Notably, the group's 3 main singers, Ballard, Wilson, and Ross, could all sing lead. They also worked with guitarist Marvin Tarplin. So that's kind of how they got their start.
Okay, now I don't remember Florence leading any songs. Do you?
Well, they said that
was way back then.
Could all sing lead. So we don't know which ones, we have to go back and look specific each single to see who's singing lead.
I was watching TV one day and I was listening to a song, Florence. I forgot the name of the song. I don't know if she had an album, she had a song out, but she has a nice voice.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Deep. I don't know if she was alto or what, but not as high as Diana, but she has a nice voice. She had a nice voice.
Yeah.
She had a nice voice. Think about her sometimes. Poor thing. Died so young. As award-winning music business professor, everyone, business professor, what is the single most important lesson you teach your students?
Ooh. Well.
Or maybe not single, What?
I think of a few. Like, of course, we talk about just the power of owning your own intellectual property, which, as we've seen through many artists, many groups, many genres of music, is always a point of contention. Nowadays, to be specific, a lot of artists and people are so focused on like social media followers, but I like to teach people to really, you should grow your email database first because you want to have all your owned media, whether it's your website, your email list. You want to be careful building your empire on rented real estate. I think that's important. Um, so those would be some important things. And then, it might seem basic, but just geography, particularly when you're planning out a tour and going from city to city. Some of the younger students and artists I work with aren't as familiar with geography as they need to be. They have to understand that if you're going to start your tour in LA, you can't go from LA to Chicago to Miami. You need to go from like LA to Vegas to Phoenix to Denver, work your way across the country if possible, if the venues are available. And I know that seems basic, but geography is something that we spend a good amount of time on because we might take it for granted that people understand.
Sometimes in school you think, why do I have to take this class, that class? You see it comes to light, right?
Yes.
After
Yeah.
school, it comes back to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
why I had to take it. That's
sure.
why, because
Even
of
some
this.
math. You got to know how to count the money. You have to know how to balance the balance
Right.
sheet. So the math too is important.
And read and all of that good stuff.
Well, reading,
You have
because
to
you
know
got
how
to
to
read a
read it.
contract.
That's
Contracts.
right.
That's another one is contracts. Now, I will advise my clients that I work with that one of the first people they should hire is like a lawyer so that can work you through your contract so you can make sure you're not making any poor decisions. That's very important.
So what type of lawyer is it? A music lawyer? No. What type of
Entertainment
lawyer?
lawyer can
That's
cover it.
right.
Entertainment lawyer.
Entertainment
Yeah.
lawyer. Said
Yeah.
music lawyer. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. Entertainment lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Briefly, how did you become the first African American president of the MPISCC in 45 years? And what does it stand for?
Okay, so Meeting Professionals International, Southern California chapter. So it's a trade association for like meeting and event planners who plan events, conferences all over the world. It's where they would go to get their continuing education and they would network with other peers. And so we have the chapters all over the world. I was fortunate enough to be president of the Southern California chapter. And we're probably the fourth or fifth largest chapter in the world. And I just started off volunteering to advertise my DJ business.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it grew to be on the board, doing different positions in terms of membership, education, planning out the content, communications. And then I was on the president track. So that was kind of how I did it. That my participation and membership in Meetings Professional International really helped me get my teaching position, has helped me get exposure and in front of major audiences around the world. So it's really been important in my career and life.
Wow. So how many years were you the president?
So there for president for 1 year, you're
Did you say 1
president-elect
year?
for 1 year, and past president for another. So it's like a 3-year term.
Were you surprised when they made you president?
Well, not because I've been working towards it. So, and I had applied.
Okay.
So it wasn't a shock, but I was, very happy, very honored. Yes, very humble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now this is a time I have to say, it's that time. It's that time. We don't know what time it is, right? As we wrap up, as the founder of the Amani experience, right? How
Correct,
does
yes.
your knowledge of music history influence how you DJ for clients?
Oh, I love to take people through a chronological journey, whether you start in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I love to share maybe if there's a track that's popular nowadays, but was sampling an older song. I like to play the older song with the current song. So just take people on a journey where they can go back to when they were kids and have memories and maybe even current memories. So I just love to cross over the decades, cross over the genres, and just fill people up with great memories when I DJ.
Do you have to have a talent, right, to be a DJ?
Yes. Yes, you must be able to read the crowd, be able to physically mix between songs flawlessly. It's a lot easier than being a bedroom DJ. No, it's more difficult than being a bedroom DJ because reading a crowd is an art that you are always practicing. You have to be able to curate good music, understand different genres, what might move people, and just be able to take people on a journey.
I know, but some people think you just play music and that's it.
No.
No, it's more than that because it's it's sad when you have a DJ and you're sitting there and he's playing songs and he's really getting into it. Everyone else is sitting there like this.
Yeah, that's a problem. You got to read the crowd. So that's a problem. Yeah, yeah,
I know a lot of people like that. What you call it, the line dance. I
yes.
don't think that would always be here. Do you think
Yeah, I
so?
think so. Yes,
So
line dances
everyone,
will work. Yes, particularly amongst our community. We love our line dances.
ever in doubt, line dance, right?
Yeah, yeah. Put one on. Yes, Cupid Shuffle, Electric Slide, all
Oh, I
of
love
them.
the electric slide, all of them. With
Yeah.
all your different roles and achievements, what's next for you? And how can people purchase your books and follow you?
So what's next for me is I'm going to turn the book into a trivia game. That's kind of the goal for this year, to turn it into a trivia game. So I'm working on that. So stay tuned. You can buy the book if you just go to Amazon. You can go to the Quiet Storm book. It'll pop up there. Amani Roberts is my name. Or you can go to thequietstormbook.com and order it directly from me. If you want to reach me, my website is amaniexperience.com. You can go there, amaniexperience.com/book to get the book. And if you're really interested in the music industry, or you're working or you want to work in it, you can do two things. You can go to amaniexperience.com/call. That'll set up a free call with me. And if you want to stay up with the news, you can text news to 301-638-8749. I send out a update on what's going on in the music business world twice a week. So those are all the ways you can catch me.
Well, I want to thank you. Oh, thank you, Amani, so much for taking us on your musical journey.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a fun conversation.
For our viewers at home watching, if you like what you see, subscribe to The Jocelyn Moore Show. Want to be a guest on our show? Head over to our website, www.jmentertainment.info. On the homepage, click on About and follow directions to be a guest. If you have any questions about today's show or past or future shows, just click Contact on our website and submit a message. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, take care and keep watching.